met a handful of Muslim girls at my high school and started to slowly learn more about the position of women in Islam. So it's my pleasure to review and teach for anybody who doesn't know about the wonderful position of Muslim women in Islam. Yeah? Okay. Okie doke. So, in Islam, men and women are part of the human family. That, all of us came from Adam and Eve. From the beginning, Allah created Adam, and from his body created Eve. So very similar, of course, to the traditions in other monotheistic faiths, Judaism and Christianity. But women in Islam, their purpose is to serve Allah and take care of the earth, along with the same duties men have as well. They are given life in order to worship Allah, which is, again, an Arabic word for God, and fulfill His purpose on the earth, which is to serve Him and serve humanity at the same time. So this breaks down that purpose in a bit more detail. So the worshiping Allah is that spiritual side of human beings, that we acknowledge the oneness of God, and that there's only one God, and that this is not something of this world that we can see or understand completely. And so that's the core pillar of faith in Islam, that you believe in one God. And then you have the 5 pillars of practice. I was going to ask if anybody wants to name any kids from school that can name the 5 pillars for us. Oh, great. Here, you give us one. Shahada. Great. Shahada is a profession of faith, that you believe in only one God, Allah and Muhammad is the messenger of God. Another one, yeah. Salah, prayer. So you need to pray 5 times a day. That's obligatory on men and women. Okay, here. Sawm. What's Sawm?
It's when you fast, like we're doing now.
Exactly. So fasting Ramadan is obligatory on women and men, of course. In the back. Yeah. Zakat. And that is what? I think I lost it. It's charity. So you're responsible, men and women, on assets you have to pay a certain percentage to that charity as a requirement. And final, yeah. Hajj, excellent. MashaAllah, good job. Sorry, girls from the back, I didn't see you very well. But alhamdulillah, the final Hajj is, of course, going to Mecca, to the house of Allah. So that all makes up Muslims, men and women, their spiritual life. But at the same time, we're responsible for taking care of the earth and taking care of everything on the earth. In Islam, you're not allowed to simply withdraw from life and stay on your own. You have to participate in life and be social and take care of things. So that includes environment, taking care of the environment, taking care of animals, all these things that Allah gave us on the earth, as well as pursue education and pursue understanding of how to help people in this world. So scientific advancements, businesses, making a living to support families, all those things are important parts of life that women and men are equally responsible for. Again, women are responsible for those things as well as men. So men and women in Islam are equal. They're spiritually equal. There's not more reward for men or women. However, the Quran acknowledges that they're different physically, psychologically, and so their roles are a bit different. That men are expected and required to support women, to support the family, to lead the family, and women equally are required to take care of the family, to support the children. Both have responsibility toward the children. Children have rights on their parents, and parents, of course, have rights on their children as well. So this is very important. Women, though, have this special place of being mothers and wives, and those come with respect and responsibilities within Islam, and especially mothers, that they are held in high esteem because of the stress and suffering and patience it takes, particularly on women, and and themselves to have children. So one of the common questions is, why do women wear hijab? This is a spiritual obligation. God asks women to cover their beauty in order to be modest. This raises the status of women in Islam, the belief that it doesn't matter what you look like, it shouldn't be commercialized, it shouldn't be judged, that your appearance, you shouldn't be judged on your appearance. So it relieves women of burdens of beauty in society, and keeps your beauty as a more private thing for your family. Let's see. Other encouraged values in women are obedience to Allah. Again, as long as you're following Allah, you are on the right path. Inner peace, purity and faith and modesty, as we were saying, that the hijab is there to encourage those things. To have, again, this faith and righteousness. Bashfulness, again, it relates to modesty, that, you're expected to conduct yourself modestly in order to not always draw attention to yourself, and be confident, though, and definitely join life anywhere you go. Education is encouraged for men and women. Working is allowed for men and women. And so there's really not a lot of restrictions on what women can do, but they are asked and encouraged to observe modesty and again, remember Allah and whatever pursuits they go on to do. So again, there's lots of speaking about women in the Quran. There's a whole surah named Maryam in the Quran. There's lots of hadith about how important women are in society. And so I want to just go through some of the rights, the special rights that were revealed to Prophet Muhammad back in the 600s for women that were quite revolutionary at the time especially. So these rights included being able to marry someone of your choice. Despite some cultural practices that exist today, women in Islam are not allowed to marry somebody if they don't give their permission. They cannot be forced to marry. They can retain their identity after they get married. So you'll find a lot of Muslim women, even after they're married and have kids, keep their own last name. They have a right to divorce, a right to work if they wish, a right to own and sell property, including inherit property when their relatives pass away. Again, not heard of at the time, in the 600s. They can seek protection from the law. You can have redress to problems or injustices they experience by appealing to judges in the law, so they have standing in society in that way. They're allowed to vote and participate in, again, political and civic life. There's no part of Islam that says women have to be only in the home, and not involved in the life of the community. They're very important parts of the community. It's just traditionally the 16-year-old, the mother often keeps them at home, as I found, as I have in my family. But again, they are encouraged to pursue whatever education, whatever goals they wish to do to serve society. Other rights women have in Islam include, and on a spiritual side, again, their deeds count just as much as men's deeds. So in prayer and in fasting, those are all equal. Again, they have a right, and they're encouraged to obtain an education. In our religion, they say that you should obtain an education even if it takes you to China. Far away. Point being, it's very encouraged to always be learning. There's rights to obtain provisions from her father and brothers until she gets married. So, as I mentioned before, because the men in Islam are given the responsibility to maintain their family, women have the right to work, but they do not have the responsibility for the finances of the family. They can contribute to the finances of the family, but ultimately it is the responsibility of their male family members, whether that's the father or the brother, depends on who's providing for the family. So they have the right to own their own independent property, as I mentioned, right for provisions from the husband for all their needs. Again, the husband being responsible for the provisions of the family. The right to work and earn money, the right to keep her own money, so if she does work, she does not have to turn the money over to her husband or her dad or her brother. It is her money, and no one has a right to take her money. She can, again, contribute to family household expenses, it's not required. She has the right to express her opinion and be heard, to negotiate marriage terms, marriage contract terms. Again, her voice and her choices matter. And also, they have the right to custody of their children after divorce. So again, you might see some cultural differences in Muslim societies, but these are all rights given to women by the Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet Muhammad. And again, women are esteemed, especially in Islam, for their sacrifices they make as mothers. So there's a saying of the Prophet Muhammad that paradise lies in the feet of the mother, or the mothers. And so so again, women have this really, mothers have this really high esteem and status in Islam. Now, honoring parents is equally important for children, but also as women, men and women become adults, they are required to serve their parents, help their parents as they were helped when they were small. So this is an important responsibility within Islam as well. So this is part of the Quran. It says we have enjoined on man to be dutiful and kind to his parents. Your Lord has decreed that you worship none but him and be dutiful to your parents. And again, in one word, the way of submission and holiness, humility through mercy, and say, you bestowed your mercy, bestow on them your mercy as they brought me up when I was young. So as I remind my children in the Quran, they even say, you shouldn't even say oath to your parents, that you should honor your mother and your father and not even roll your eyes. Maybe in the kids. I mean, for us as well as adults, your parents are very important. In the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he again encouraged this practice of honoring your parents in many ways. Someone asked him, "O Messenger of God, who is most deserving of my good company?" And he said, "Your mother." And he was asked, "Okay, who after that?" And the Prophet Muhammad said, "Your mother." And he said, "Okay, who after that?" And he said, "The third time, your mother." And he said, "And then after that?" And then the Prophet said, "Your father." So, again, the Hadith illustrates, the saying of the Prophet illustrates how much children should help their mother and be dutiful to their mother, who did so much for them, from birthing them to everything else in life. And so there's obligations on sons, and this relates back to the men's role of ensuring that their family members are economically taken care of. So a son should support and provide for his mother if she needs assistance. So as long as he is capable and financially able to help her. So all those are responsibilities. As the Prophet also said, the best of you is the one who is best to his wife. And I am the best of you to my wife. So he served as a really strong example of how, again, husbands honor their wives, to spend time with their wives, do things with their wives. They're not property. They're not, to be abused or ignored or anything. That again, the true test. We know in this life that how people act outside to other people can mask, or doesn't tell you how they act at home with their family and their children or spouse. And so the point is very important that how you treat your spouse is a true test of who you are, because these are the people that are closest to you. Islam also honors women as daughters. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, whoever takes care of two girls until they reach adulthood, he and I will come like this, close together on the day of judgment. So again, it's an honor for parents to raise up daughters, because this is seen as a more harder struggle, especially in older times, since women couldn't necessarily contribute all of this come later with sons. sister and you as an aunt is very important. The prophet, peace be upon him, had a saying that means Allah promises to help and support those who maintain good relationships with their family. Conversely, Allah warns them that He will withdraw His support from those who neglect or break family ties. So, again, taking care of family is extremely important in ensuring that all members of your family are okay, especially women who are not married, don't have the support of a husband, is obligatory and important on their male relatives. Women who lose their husbands to death, Islam guarantees Muslim women a great reward from God that she's patient with this challenge and continues to take good care of her children. Islam keeps the financial and emotional and psychological rights of the widow. So again, it takes into account that she needs support from the community in this difficult time, and gives the widow the right to stay unmarried or to get married if she wishes. So she can't be pressured to remarry. Again, whatever cultural practices, she has the right to stay not married again or married again if she chooses without shame or any other pressure. Women also have the right to divorce. This is, discouraged in Islam, but seen as a right and a necessity in many cases or some cases. So it's permissible and it's viewed as a last resort. The wife has the right to be financially maintained for 3 months after divorce, and she also has the right to have her children financially supported by the father despite divorce. So that child support is obligatory on the father regardless of whether they stay married or get divorced. And then my last section of the presentation is about distinguished women in Islam. Wow, that's much better sound like. That there's been, from generations to generations, there have been excellent examples of Muslim women that have done amazing things for humanity. So, in Islam, there's considered 4 perfect women that are excellent examples of spiritual and, spiritual leaders for Muslim women. And the first is, one of them is Mary, the mother of Jesus. And so, again, her life and her sacrifices are honored. This is the name of Khadijah, the Prophet Muhammad's first wife, who was a businesswoman, and they were married for nearly 2 decades, and she had all these children. She's seen as a very good example in Islam. Asya is the wife of the Pharaoh in Moses' time, who took care of Moses as a baby, and she is seen, despite being married to a tyrant, she kept her faith and served humanity in many good ways. And Fatima, which is the daughter of the Prophet, is also an excellent example. There's more information about these women and the next that I'm just going to name on the board over there. Mashallah, Arabic school leaders did an excellent job putting this all together. So in Yemen, Tawakkul Carmen, you've heard of her, she's done amazing things that you can read more about. This is Anad El-Hamsouri, if I say that right. She was a woman from Syria who spoke out against the regime and paid with her life. Ilhan Omar, you might have heard of as well. She's a representative within the Congress of the U.S. and along with Rashida Tlaib, the Palestinian Muslim congresswoman. And she came from refugee camps in Somalia to rise to power in the U.S. There's Amira El-Asuli, who is a doctor within Gaza, and you might have seen footage of her running through the alley to retrieve a wounded person despite snipers to try to best to save and give medical attention to those in need in Gaza during this genocide. And that brings us to the end, and I thank you guys for your attention. I know everyone's probably full a bit tired, so thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions that might come up.
Thanks everyone for listening. And thanks, Miss Emily. That was a really nice lecture about the importance of women in Islam. Same time next week, inshallah, we have another event. Before this one. Anyway, we have another event, same time next week, inshallah. And we've not announced it yet, and inshallah we will announce it. But before that, we would like to hear feedback from you about today's event so that we can improve the upcoming events, inshallah. Thanks very much. So it would really be helpful if you come and speak to us about any feedback you've got, or even send it through email. Thanks very much.